What's up guys in Telltech Studios, and I realized I haven't done a video on my Kenmore Destiny Plus in quite a while. Ever since I did the video on the demo of it, I pretty much haven't really touched it all that much since. I think I mainly used it probably about once or twice. Of course, it's basically a phantom, so you don't really want to use it very extensively because if something breaks on it, there's a significant lack of available parts. I did manage to score a spare brush roll for one of my Furies, which is nice, but in the case of the Thunder, I don't have such a thing. The original brush roll does appear to still be good, though, at least as of the last time that I used it, and for some reason some crumbs and stuff had fallen out of it in the time of me prepping for this review. Also, this vacuum isn't the most photogenic because, as you can see, there still is some dust that I completely forgot was even there until I already started recording, and I don't feel like redoing it. But eventually I will pull this thing apart to the motor and completely clean out the entire thing, so that way I know it's very, very nice. I will do the same thing to my 10 amp Fury as well, since the 10 amp Fury clearly has a motor that's going bad in it. Or at least sounds like it's going bad, so I will pull that apart and hopefully I should be able to, fix that up and hopefully make it sound just as good as my 12 amp Fury. At least that's the goal. So, we're making in the case of the Destiny Plus, this Destiny Plus is basically the same as the Phantom Thunder. This appears to be a slightly not as common version of the Destiny Plus, since most of the Destiny Pluses I see, they say Kenmore on the bin and say Destiny Plus up here. But this one looks more like what I would expect, where the Phantom brand is, it says Kenmore, and then wherever the actual Dust Cup moniker is, where it would normally say Thunder, it says Destiny Plus. Although again, this is a Phantom Thunder. It has 12 amps, although it doesn't, well, it says it over here, whereas I believe on a real Thunder it says it on this side. At least I know it does on the Furies. But whenever I got this in a trade. I mentioned this in the video. I got this in a trade where I traded for Abyssal Power Force Helix, and that Abyssal Power Force Helix I paid, you can see it's kind of dusty back here. But for that Abyssal Power Force Helix, I paid $1 for it, and I don't even think I spent really any money in parts. So I basically got this for $1, and you can see the serial number, and this was manufactured, as you can tell, this was manufactured July of 1999. So again, a lot of this is pretty dusty. Unfortunately, it's been sitting for a while, mostly unused. It also traveled with me for quite a bit. You can see there's the Hepa filter, which is a little bit dusty, but it isn't all clogged up yet. Both of the filters in my Furies are still mint, like almost new, so I may end up needing to get a replacement Hepa filter cartridge for this at some point. Although I don't use this really at all, because I prefer the Furies, because the Furies are a little bit lighter weight, even though this does feel like the build quality is a little bit better, which makes sense because this was based off of a commercial unit. This is basically just a domesticated version of the Vectron, which was of course sold to Iona Appliances, and they renamed themselves Phantom and released it as Phantom. These started off as a 9 amp unit, then they went to 11 amp, which is the most common of the original Phantoms, and then they were called Thunder and switched to 12 amps. So yeah. Anyways, also it was missing the dusting brush, but it did come with the tool attachment, or the floor tool adapter, which they're supposed to come with, as well as the crevice tool and the floor nozzle. So whenever I need to use a dusting brush, I just go to one of my other Furies, which both these Furies came with both of their crevice tools and floor nozzles, but this one came with the dusting brush and this one came with the pet hair tool. So I do have a dusting brush that I can use on it, as well as the pet hair tool and an extension hose. So if I wanted to use this, I could. Of course, it has the quick release wand, which it doesn't have the squeeze and go wand, but I mean, I don't really think this is all that worse, because you can just push down and then pull it up. So, even though it's on the vacuum itself, you don't have to, use two hands to pull it off. Which is a little bit, because the Dyson DC-01 that's supposed to be modeled after, I mean, this is basically the American version of the Dyson DC-01. You see the wheels are a little bit squeaky. Might have to oil those. And, it feels like the hose is a little bit longer than on the Fury, at least to me. Maybe that's just a placebo effect, but course, you can put the extension hose on it. This one actually does have the cord clip, which is really nice. Neither of my Furies have the cord clip, so it's really nice that this has that too. And I've owned a few Thunders in the past. This one has a carrying handle. The first Thunder I ever owned did not have a carrying handle. It's not the best carrying handle, but it does get the job done. You can still lift it just fine. Has 3 height adjustments, dual headlights, all that stuff. Filtration's pretty good on this. There is no premotor filter. Obviously, it's dual cyclonic technology, just like the early Dysons. So fine dust will get into the motor. So if you do use one of these heavily, you probably should tear it down to the motor and clean the dust out of it if you want it to last a long time. There's probably some dust in here because it's obviously, 20 years old. So, and obviously the Hepa filter itself is dusty, so all that went through the motor. Let's see, what else is there really to talk about? Of course, you have the clean out port down here. This vacuum does have the reset button. My 12 amp Fury doesn't have a reset button, but my 10 amp Fury does. And again, the first Thunder that I ever got didn't have a carrying handle, and it didn't have a reset button, which was odd. That must have been a much later Thunder. So I had that Thunder, I had a second Thunder at one point, and then I had a Phantom Domestic, which all of those I sold. And especially with the Phantom, in the case of the first Thunder, it was missing some features, so I don't mind that too much. But I regret selling the Phantom Domestic because I sold it with all the attachments, and I also had an extension hose on it. It was a black one, so it wasn't from a domestic, but it was still an extension hose, and I sold it for like way too little than I should have. So, but you live and you learn. So, I'm definitely keeping this one, even though it's not technically a real Thunder. Technically, it's the only Kenmore that I own right now. So, I don't know whether you would call this a Phantom or a Kenmore. I mean, I guess you could go either way because it was made by Phantom, but it's branded as a Kenmore. But yeah, so let's try it out. Well, again, I already know that it works, but let's run it. Well, the wind down sounds a bit funky compared to what it used to sound like. It used to sound pretty normal. Maybe that brush roll's... Perhaps that brush roll's going bad, unfortunately. Hopefully not, though. I don't know what those chips are that I sucked up that fell out of it. Oh well. Anyways, so... my camera keeps lagging. So this machine is definitely... first off, also, in the demo, both of the headlights were working. I don't think I took the headlights out of either one of these. So I don't know why only one of the headlights is working, because before both of the headlights were working. So that's annoying, but looks like one of the headlight bulbs went out. So the Phantom Thunder, or the Kenmore Destiny Plus, I'll pretty much mark this as a Destiny Plus. Everyone knows that it's basically a Thunder. So this is a really, really nice vacuum, and I do regret getting rid of my original Thunder. Well, again, not my original Thunder, but my Phantom Domestic, which was, the white and purple and black Thunder. But I still really like this one, and again, considering how cheap I got it for, I can't complain. And it's definitely a really, really nice machine. From what I understand, these are a lot harder to find than the original Thunders. So any Phantom collectors can correct me on that if I'm wrong, because I know a little bit about Phantom. I know the story behind them, how they turned into dice and everything, or how the patents were licensed, and about the Vectron and all that stuff. But I don't know everything, so correct me if I'm wrong about these being more rare than the Phantom Thunder, than the normal, Phantom branded versions. And I believe there also was a Fury version of the Kenmore Destiny. I believe it was just called the Kenmore Destiny. And I believe the Lightning was called the Destiny 3000. I could be wrong on that. But I've never seen a Fury-based Kenmore Destiny. I've only ever seen the Destiny Plus. Every time I see someone say they have a Kenmore Destiny, they always have a Destiny Plus. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure that the original Destiny that's supposed to be the Fury does exist. I've never seen a picture of it. I'd like to see what they look like. I would imagine it would look just like a Fury, but with the Kenmore branding, just like this. But, yeah, so this is definitely a very interesting machine to have, and while I do kind of like the Phantom logo and everything, I think that looks cooler. I think because this is, a bit of a rarer version of it, again, supposedly a rarer version of the Thunder, I think that makes it even cooler, especially because it caught me off guard, because the dude's like, hey, I got this old Kenmore, will you trade this for the Bissell? And I'm thinking he's going to pull out a canister. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I can do that. And then he pulls this out, and I'm like, oh. Well, I don't say, oh. I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess I could do that. Meanwhile, inside, I'm like, oh, shit, it's a Phantom. So, so that's kind of cool. But, yeah, so that's the Kenmore Destiny Plus. And, again, I don't know why the headlight went out on it. And I'll probably need to pull it apart and service it just to make sure it's all spiffied up. Same thing with the 10 amp Fury. The 12 amp Fury is good though, and I don't even use it, so you can tell how sparkly clean the bin is. So yeah, anyways, that's the Phantom Thunder, aka the Kenmore Destiny Plus, aka the Phantom, aka the Vectron, aka the DC-01, blah 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 blah. And this is Untitled Studios signing out. I'll see you guys in the next video. I don't think there's anything else really to mention about this, but yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.